You know, when you think about building a brand new world from scratch, you usually picture this like grand, majestic
Right,
process.
something very intentional.
Exactly. You envision mountains rising up out of the earth, oceans filling these vast craters, and, ecosystems just perfectly balancing themselves out over millennia.
Like a master plan coming together flawlessly over this unfathomable stretch of time.
Yeah. You assume that being the architect of a universe is all very deliberate. Every single element is placed exactly where it's supposed to be, right?
Right, functioning in perfect harmony.
But imagine you build this pristine, perfect little world and you populate it with life, and then it just rapidly descends into this absolute cloudy green chaos.
Just total ecological collapse.
Total collapse. And the kicker is, it's not because of some unavoidable natural disaster or a meteorite striking the surface. It's simply because you, the creator of this world, forgot to hit a single light switch.
Oh man, it's the ultimate butterfly effect.
It really is.
Just one tiny mechanical oversight completely unraveling the fabric of this highly curated universe.
So, welcome to today's custom-tailored deep dive. We are exploring a truly fascinating micro-ecosystem and the surprisingly dramatic consequences of, well, playing God within a glass box in your living room.
It's a great topic.
Yeah, and our source for today is this highly specific, intimately detailed journal entry. It's titled Notes on Fishkeeping, Part 308, Managing Algae Blooms and Lighting Schedules.
Part 308.
Right. It was published on August 5, 2026 by an author known simply as Ang.
Just looking at that title, Part 308 gives you an immediate sense of the dedication we are dealing with here.
Definitely.
This isn't just some passing weekend hobby for Ang. This is a sustained, meticulous observation of life unfolding inside a closed environment.
Absolutely. So let's set the scene based on Ang's notes. We have a newly set up aquarium tank. It's a completely fresh canvas.
The dream setup.
Yeah. The water is pristine, the substrate is laid down nicely at the bottom, and the aquatic residents have just moved into their new home. But then a very human accident happens. This brand new, incredibly delicate environment is subjected to a grueling 24 hours of uninterrupted LED lighting.
Just brutal.
The sun simply never goes down.
A continuous, unforgiving blast of artificial light. It's a profoundly unnatural state for almost any biological system to find itself in,
Yeah.
especially a newly established one that, hasn't even really found its footing yet.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the text is really clear about the immediate biological impact of this 24-hour sun.
It's intense.
Aang notes that leaving the LED light on straight completely disrupts the circadian rhythm of literally everything in the tank. We were talking about the fish, the plants, and even the microorganisms.
Right, the entire food web.
And I just have to stop right there and put myself in the shoes of those inhabitants. If you're listening to this on your commute right now or just sitting at your desk, think about how you feel after staring at a bright screen for too long.
You get a headache.
Yeah. You get a headache, you feel totally drained. Now imagine you are trapped in like a windowless Las Vegas casino.
Oh, that's the worst.
Or maybe one of those overly bright, fluorescent lit office cubicles for days on end, and you literally cannot close your eyes. You lose all sense of time.
It's psychological torture.
It is. But I have to push back a little on what Ang is observing here, specifically regarding the smallest residents.
Okay, what do you mean?
Well, a fish getting exhausted, sure, I totally buy that. A plant getting stressed out from too much photosynthesis, I can see it. But a microorganism.
Ah, I see where you're going.
But look, we are talking about a microscopic speck floating in the water. Does a speck actually have a sleep schedule that gets disrupted? It doesn't have eyelids. How does a single cell get jet lag?
What's fascinating here is that the answer is inextricably tied to the absolute foundational laws of biology.
Yeah.
Completely regardless of scale.
What, really? Even a single cell?
Yes. Even at the microscopic level. Life operates on a rhythm dictated by the presence and absence of light. So when Ang observes that the circadian rhythms of the microorganisms are disrupted, they are highlighting a systemic failure of the entire ecosystem.
Oh, wow.
It's not about a microscopic speck needing to take a nap, right? It's about complex cellular processes that are actually timed to occur strictly in the dark.
So they don't sleep the way we think of sleep. They just function entirely differently when the lights go out.
Exactly. They switch gears. Think of it like a bustling city.
Mm-hmm.
During the day, it's all construction, traffic, commerce, right?
Sure.
But at night, the street sweepers come out. The maintenance crews fix the roads. The power grid cools down. That nighttime maintenance is crucial.
That makes sense.
The fish, the plants, the single-celled organisms, they all rely on that period of darkness to perform specific biological functions, to repair things, to process waste.
So when you take the darkness away, you don't just get exhaustion?
No, you get an immediate breakdown of order. The natural clocks of the flora, the fauna, and the microscopic life all shatter simultaneously.
Man, it's like a total loss of the biological metronome that keeps everything synchronized.
That's a great way to put it.
Everyone is suddenly playing to a totally different sheet of music.
A fantastic way to look at it. The invisible engine of the tank just breaks down. And in a closed system, when the foundational rhythm stops working, the physical symptoms follow almost immediately.
Okay, so if the invisible engine breaks down, the physical symptoms aren't far behind. What does that actually look like to the naked eye?
Well, it gets messy.
Yeah, according to Eng's observation of this new tank, fragments of algae begin to form. And once they form, they don't just sit passively on the glass, they aggressively thrive.
They completely capitalize on the imbalance. See, algae is the ultimate opportunist in an aquatic environment.
Right.
While the higher life forms the fish and the plants are stunningly stressed out by the endless daylight, the algae just sees an open door.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Eng specifically notes what is fueling this opportunistic takeover. It's this very specific two-part cocktail.
Yep.
First, we have the excessive nonstop LED light we just talked about. Second, Eng mentions excess nutrients coming from unfinished fish pellets.
This is the crucial part.
I'm trying to visualize the mechanics of this. What is actually happening to that food? Are the fish just, like, leaving it there?
In a healthy, balanced system,
Yeah.
you drop the food in, the fish eat the pellets, they metabolize them, and the microorganisms process the resulting waste at a manageable, steady pace.
Okay.
But here, the system is fundamentally broken. The fish were profoundly stressed by the endless light.
Because they're stuck in the Vegas casino?
Exactly. Their metabolism is completely out of whack. So they aren't finishing their meals. Those unfinished fish pellets sink to the bottom and just sit there.
And as they sit there, they just start breaking down in the water.
They break down, slowly dissolving and releasing this massive payload of raw, unconsumed nutrients directly into the water column.
Oh, it's essentially liquid fertilizer. So if the unfinished food is releasing all this raw nutrient energy, are these leftover fish pellets basically acting as protein shakes for an invading microscopic army?
That is a phenomenal analogy. Yes, it is exactly like a protein shake for the algae.
That's wild.
To explode in population, algae requires two primary things: light energy to drive photosynthesis and raw nutrients to build their cellular structures.
And they suddenly have both in overdrive.
Because of that simple mistake with the LED switch, they have an unlimited 24-hour supply of intense energy. And because the stressed fish are leaving your food behind, the algae has an absolute abundance of raw building materials.
It is the perfect storm.
The absolute perfect storm.
A biological hypergrowth engine, and you can't turn it off as long as that light is shining and those pellets are rotting.
Right.
Eng describes this as the start of a severe algae bloom. That word severe does a lot of heavy lifting here.
It really does.
It tells us everything we need to know about the speed and scale of this takeover. We aren't talking about a cute little green spot on a decorative rock.
No. The journal entry specifically states the water started turning green and the algae began completely covering the glass.
The actual walls of the world are closing in. You look at it from the outside, and this pristine, clear glass box that Eng carefully set up is rapidly devolving into a murky green soup.
The visibility drops to practically zero.
The aesthetic shift alone is striking to the person who owns the tank. But, I mean, the biological shift is deeply alarming if you are an actual resident of that ecosystem.
Absolutely terrifying. The algae is effectively choking out the environment, claiming all the available resources, and literally painting the walls green.
Which makes you think about what it is like to actually live inside that soup. While this invading army of algae is throwing a 24-hour rave, thriving on the endless day and those nutrient protein shakes, the fish are trapped.
Right, they can't leave.
They can't just pack up and leave the room. They are forced into a desperate retreat just to survive the conditions their creator accidentally inflicted on them.
They have to take drastic physical measures to counteract the environmental failure. Because they cannot change the light, they have to change their location within the light.
The text notes that the fishes are actively hiding. They are retreating into artificial caves specifically, Aang mentions a terracotta pot, or they're seeking out shaded areas under the coral substrates.
Just looking for any shadow they can find.
Exactly. And Aang actually writes down the biological reason why they are doing this. They are seeking a period of darkness to reset and lower their metabolism.
Such an important observation.
So what does this all mean? To me, it paints this vivid, almost heartbreaking picture. I'm imagining a person who has been awake for 3 days straight, completely overstimulated, heart racing.
We've all been there to some degree.
Right. And they finally just give up, pull the blackout curtains tightly closed, put on a thick eye mask, and hide under the heaviest duvet they can find, just desperately trying to force their own pounding heart rate down.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it demonstrates an incredible biological imperative. The fish aren't just exhibiting basic fear.
They aren't just scared of the light.
No, or acting skittish just because they don't like the brightness. They are actively manipulating their immediate surroundings to save their own lives. Their bodies are screaming for a metabolic reset.
Because constant light means a constantly elevated metabolism.
Exactly. When the light is on, their biology tells them to be active, to forage, to be alert.
But you can't do that forever.
Doing that for 24 hours straight is entirely unsustainable. It leads to exhaustion, a weakened immune system, and ultimately, it can be fatal. Lacking a natural sunset to tell their bodies to power down, they seek out the physical architecture of the tank.
The terracotta pot and the overhang of the coral substrates?
Yes, they use those physical structures to artificially induce the darkness they desperately require. They are using the decorations of their world as a literal shield against the endless energy of the LED.
Wow.
It's a profound survival mechanism. They're trying to manually regulate a bodily function that the environment usually regulates for them automatically, with the setting of the sun.
It really makes you appreciate the humble terracotta pot.
Truly.
Normally, that's just a cute rustic decoration you buy for $5 at the pet store to make the tank look nice. But in this specific scenario, it transforms into a critical survival bunker.
A lifesaver.
It becomes the only sanctuary of shadows in a universe that is just burning with light.
And that tiny sanctuary is the only thing that keeps them alive long enough for Aang to realize the oversight, look at the murky green water, and formulate a response.
Right, because Aang is not just a passive observer documenting the decline and fall of this micro-empire.
Not at all.
Part 308 of these notes is largely dedicated to a master plan for ecological restoration. Aang lays out a comprehensive, multi-step mitigation strategy to reverse the damage and take back the tank from the green chaos.
The recovery phase requires far more intention and labor than the initial setup ever did.
So much more work.
Once you lose that delicate balance, wrestling it back into submission is an incredibly labor-intensive process.
Let's actually look at the steps Aang writes down, because I have a major bone to pick with this process.
Oh, really?
Yeah. First, Aang mentions the obvious. Install the LED correctly at the top of the tank and switch to a timer that provides only 6 to 8 hours of light per day. Okay, that makes sense. It stops the 24-hour sun.
Standard protocol.
Right. They also note the environmental context outside the tank. They're making this lighting change right as the rain has stopped, and they are finally experiencing good tropical sunny weather.
So they are syncing the artificial light of the tank with the natural weather outside the window.
Aligning the microenvironment with the macroenvironment. But here is where I have to push back on the sheer complexity of this fix.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because as a total layperson, my first instinct is just flip the switch back. You left the light on for 24 hours. Just turn it off for 24 hours. Let everybody sleep. Why isn't that the end of the story?
Seems logical.
Right. Why can't a period of darkness just instantly undo the damage of the light?
Because you can't unring a biological bell.
What do you mean?
The light didn't just keep them awake, right?
Mm-hmm.
It triggered a massive chemical cascade.
But if the algae needs light to grow, like you said earlier, doesn't taking away the light just starve it out?
It stops new growth, sure.
Yeah.
But turning off the light doesn't magically remove the toxic byproducts of the chaos that just occurred over the last day.
Oh, right.
Remember those unfinished fish pellets? They're still sitting at the bottom of the tank, rotting. The algae that already grew. As it dies off without light, it decays too.
Yeah.
And that decay releases dangerous compounds into the water. The initial mistake set a boulder rolling down a hill, and just turning off the light doesn't stop the boulder from crashing into the village.
Oh, okay. That paints a scary picture. The momentum of the decay is already in motion.
Exactly.
Which explains why Aang essentially has to become a multidisciplinary scientist just to save this box of water.
It takes a lot of different hats.
Yeah, Ang writes that this is the time to measure specific water parameters: ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate. Suddenly, Ang is a chemist, testing for these invisible, toxic byproducts you just mentioned that have built up during the chaos.
Ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate are the stepping stones of biological decay in an aquarium. They are highly toxic to the fish.
So they're basically swimming in poison.
Right. Testing for them is the only way Aang can see the invisible poison left behind by the rotting food and the dying algae.
Okay, so Aang is tracking the poison. Then Aang has to become a mechanic, noting the need to finally install a long-pending sponge filter to physically and biologically scrub the water.
A crucial step.
Now, I understand a filter catching, like, floating bits of green gunk, but what does biologically scrub mean in this context?
Well, a sponge filter isn't just a physical sieve. The porous material of the sponge actually provides a massive surface area for beneficial bacteria to grow.
Oh, good bacteria.
Yes, this good bacteria acts as a biological engine, literally eating the toxic ammonia and nitrites we just talked about and converting them into safer compounds. It acts like a liver or a kidney for the entire ecosystem.
Wow, okay, so Aang is installing an artificial kidney to process the poison.
Essentially, yes.
And if being a chemist and a mechanic wasn't enough, Aang has to become a physical laborer, performing regular partial water changes of 20% to 30% just to physically remove the green cloudiness and dilute the remaining toxins.
That's hard work.
Hauling buckets of water back and forth. I mean, it is a massive undertaking.
This raises an important question about the extreme delicacy of a closed ecosystem. When we talk about aquariums, we are talking about highly artificial constrained environments.
Right, it's not a real lake.
Exactly. Out in the wild, in a natural lake or a river, if there is a sudden spike in nutrients from decaying matter or a change in lighting, the sheer massive volume of the water dilutes the problem.
The current just washes it away.
Nature has countless expansive built-in buffers. But in a glass box in a living room, there is nowhere for the chaos to go.
It just bounces off the glass walls, concentrates, and multiplies.
Precisely that. What Aang is doing here is utilizing both technology, the timers, the correct LED placement, the biological kidney of the sponge filter, and intense manual intervention through those 20 to 30% water changes.
Trying to force it back to normal.
Right. Aang is desperately trying to manually recreate the pristine balance that the natural, good, tropical sunny weather outside provides, completely effortlessly. Nature maintains its equilibrium automatically, day after day.
Well, Aang has to do it the hard way.
Aang, on the other hand, has to haul heavy buckets of water, measure toxic chemicals with a test kit, and install mechanical filters just to mimic a tiny fraction of that natural stability.
It is a stunning amount of effort required to fix a single absent-minded mistake.
Truly.
You leave a switch on before you go to bed, and you buy yourself days of chemical testing, mechanical tinkering, and heavy lifting.
It perfectly illustrates the heavy burden of creation. If you set the parameters of a world, if you put a glass box in your home and fill it with life, you are entirely responsible for its maintenance.
You are the god of that box.
You are the weather, you are the sun, you are the tide.
So let's take a step back and look at the whole journey we've been on through just this single fascinating journal entry, this part 308 of Aang's notes.
It's been quite a ride.
It really has. We started with a newly set up, pristine world. A simple oversight leaving the LED light on for 24 hours straight completely shattered the circadian rhythm of every single living thing inside it.
From the fish hiding in the shadows, all the way down to the microscopic organisms whose cellular processes just ground to a halt. A total systemic collapse of biological time.
Which created a wide open door for opportunists. Fragments of algae, fueled by the endless light energy and the excess nutrients from unfinished, rotting fish pellets, exploded into a severe bloom.
A total takeover.
The water turned into a murky green soup, coating the glass, transforming a clear window into an opaque, suffocating landscape.
Forcing the residents, the fish, to take matters into their own fins.
Oh, right.
Seeking out the physical architecture of terracotta pots and coral substrates to artificially induce the darkness they desperately needed.
Just to lower their metabolism.
Just to survive the onslaught.
And finally, it required Aang to step in with a meticulous multi-step recovery plan. Installing timers for a strict 6 to 8 hour schedule, becoming a chemist to track toxic ammonia, nitrites, and nitrates.
Don't forget the mechanic part.
Right, acting as a mechanic to install the biological scrubbing of a sponge filter, and manually hauling out 20 to 30% of the cloudy water just to give the system a chance to breathe again.
A lot of heavy lifting.
All of this This epic tale of survival and ecological restoration happening in a tiny glass box on a random Tuesday in August of 2026.
It is a dramatic saga contained within a few gallons of water, a stark reminder of how tightly wound the threads of an ecosystem really are.
And I think it connects so deeply to all of you listening right now, because whether you are literally balancing a glass tank of water in your home or you are simply trying to balance your own daily schedule, your workspace, your habits, your diet, any environment requires highly mindful inputs.
Balance is never a passive state.
Never.
It is an active pursuit that requires constant attention to what you are introducing into the system.
And this story proves that even too much of an undeniably good thing can completely destroy that balance. Light is good. Light is essential for life on Earth.
Definitely.
Nutrients, food, protein, these are essential for life. But give a closed system 24 hours of light and an excess of nutrients, and you don't get a super system.
Far from it.
You easily tip the scales into total unmanageable chaos. You get a green, cloudy disaster where everyone is hiding in the dark just to survive the overdose of energy.
It forces us to examine our own inputs. What are we flooding our own physical and mental systems with under the false assumption that more is always better?
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to mull over today. We've seen how merely forgetting to turn off an LED light can completely destabilize an entire aquatic ecosystem, forcing its inhabitants to retreat into terracotta pots just to lower their racing heart rates.
Such a powerful image.
So it makes you wonder, what invisible natural rhythms in our own daily human lives are we accidentally disrupting with our modern habits?
That's the real question.
What artificial lights are we leaving on for too long without even realizing the internal metabolic chaos we might be causing beneath our own surface?
A question well worth asking before the water gets too cloudy.
Until next time, keep an eye on your switches.